Hi, everyone. Welcome to This Moment with M and MJ.
Hey, everybody. Mike and Mary Jo here, and we have with us today a very, very, very special guest of ours, Sam Shepard. Welcome, Sam.
Welcome,
you.
Sam.
Thank you. That was three varies.
That was three varies. You're worth more than three, but, it's all good. Sam is a youth pastor with us at our church, and
which is Faith Family Church.
Faith Family Church in Sioux Falls. And we've had some just amazing conversations over, of all things, the most amazing thing on the planet, deep dish pizza.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Legit.
Thanks for being with us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Amen. It's been really precious. We've had just some amazing conversations over deep dish pizza.
Mm-hmm. As one does.
Yeah. And we're sitting there going, man, that'd make a good podcast. Man, that'd make a good podcast. Man, that'd make a good podcast. So here we are, making a good podcast.
That's right. And this topic is about the 10 Commandments. And Sam, he just started talking about it, and it was like, you know what? I'd like to hear what you have to say. So
So we're going to talk about taking the name of the Lord in vain.
Yes.
Go.
Yeah, it's really interesting to me because when I was studying out the 10 Commandments, everything I do as far as studying the Bible per se is through the lens that I'm going to share this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to talk to somebody about this. It's never
right.
It's always you can look at it like a river. It's meant to flow through me, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's meant to flow through us, not create a pond in us, right? And so I always look through it with that kind of lens, and I want to challenge what I currently know.
Oh, absolutely.
And so like is what I know true, or is there more truth to it?
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you that might think, yes, I know this topic. No, you don't.
Right.
Even you could be in the Bible for your entire life and you don't know it fully. It's I think that's all part of it, right?
That is true.
It's a journey to deeper understanding to God and His love.
Yep. 100%.
And so, I kind of happened upon this, unexpectedly as it does. Words will just pop off the page to you, and then you get stuck in that.
Well, yeah.
And it was really a series that I was studying out for youth on the 10 Commandments, and how kind of the first 4 are really your relationship with God, and the other 6 are your relationship with people.
Both people.
Sure.
Right. And so that's, where Jesus is like, there's really 2 commandments: love your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and love people as yourselves. Well, that's embodies the 10 Commandments.
Right.
And so, he tried to make it a little bit easier for us, like not a top 10 list, but, just a top 2.
Yeah. I'll just give you a 2. Can you handle that?
Yeah. Can you handle that? No is, generally the answer.
Yeah.
But so, it starts out as, you shall have no other gods before me. And, I know this is kind of off topic, but I want to preface the topic with this. I've always looked at that, as don't, put God first in all things, right?
100%.
But really, what I saw was before me.
Mm-hmm.
And so don't bring your gods into my presence, your small g gods into my presence, because they don't belong there. Mm-hmm. And my presence is holy. And, he's talking with he's literally writing with his finger on stone in the presence of Moses, right?
Right.
And, Moses, his first encounter with him was in a burning bush, and he's like, hold on, take your sandals off, because this is holy ground.
Yeah.
And, when he was doing that, and, when I kind of ended up there with that, the first commandment, it really spoke to me as like, well, we have God on the inside of us. We are holy ground.
Yeah.
And so, this world will tell you the opposite of that. The world will say you're nothing, you're garbage, you're stupid, all these things. But you are holy ground, whether you believe it or not, whether you know that or not.
Whether you know it.
Exactly.
Right.
You are holy, not because of anything you've done or who you are, but because who He is.
Right.
So that started this, and really the first eye-opening whoa kind of moment for me was, okay, what else is there?
Uh-huh.
And then I get to the second one, where it's don't make any carved image, or you shall not make for yourself a carved image, any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or what is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water of the earth.
Wow.
Nothing that is in heaven. Who's in heaven? God's in heaven. Angels are in heaven. Don't make any image. Because, again, like the Israelites, when they're, when Moses was on the mountain, like we were talking about earlier, they saw all the wondrous things of God. They watched the plagues happen. They watched the Egyptians give them all their possessions. As they left, they watched the Red Sea part. And then, a couple days in the wilderness, and they're like, we need to make ourselves a carved image.
Sure.
Right.
As God is telling Moses, don't do this.
Right.
They're doing it down below.
Yeah.
And it's just so interesting to me. And I told you guys this story, and I feel like I should say it now. I had a conversation recently in church where, a lady came up to me and said, why aren't there any crosses in the church?
Uh-huh.
And I go, well, that sounds like a carved image to me, doesn't it? And, like I said, sometimes my filter, goes berserk and doesn't work right. But I also think, Jesus kind of spoke with that kind of audacity as well.
100%.
They always wanted to kill him. So if every once in a while I get persecuted while preaching godly things, I'm in a pretty good spot.
Okay.
I don't.
I'm all right with that.
I don't intend on being thrown off a cliff anytime soon by any means. But if it happens, it happens, and I'm in good company.
Check this out on the Amplified on that one. You shall not make yourself any graven image to worship it, or any likeness of anything that is in the heavens above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down yourself to them or serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children to the third and fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing mercy and steadfast love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments.
I was listening to a sermon a couple days ago on this very topic, as it turns out. But we could name. We could probably put a pretty good list together of the top 10 songs of all time and be pretty accurate.
Sure.
But, could we name the 10 commandments? Like the rules that God established to go by, we couldn't do. A lot of us anyway. And, there's something wrong with that. Mm-hmm. And
especially to the believer.
Exactly. And, we have no problem with, knowing all these top 10. We could name all the Kardashians, we could name, all the members of NSYNC, or, all these famous celebrities.
Yeah.
And all of these things that we spend so many times putting above God.
Right.
Breaking the first commandment. But we can't name the 10 rules that God established to live our lives by.
Wow.
It's mind-blowing to me.
It is.
Anyways, so then we get to the third one. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain. And I grew up Missouri Synod Lutheran, which is, a Lutheran, but then a sect within, the Lutheran denomination. Thank you.
Yeah.
And which really they taught me, don't cuss. Mm-hmm. Don't say the name Jesus Christ in like if you
using it for a swear word.
Exactly. Hit your thumb with a hammer. In fact, I was talking with my youngest daughter the other day, and she goes, "Dad, I don't say Jesus Christ when I get mad. I say cheese and rice."
That's funny.
And I go, that is not any better.
Right.
But everything's a learning opportunity, and everything's a teaching moment, which sometimes aggravates my kids and my wife. But it is what it is. And that's ingrained in me, is that everything's a teachable moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's no mistake that goes without a lesson. Mm-hmm. And, I said, really, it's the heart of what you're saying behind it that really matters, right?
That's what my pastor taught me.
And so, you're substituting the words, but you're saying the same thing in your heart.
Your heart.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And, she didn't like that, but, I'm not supposed to say everything you like. I'm supposed to teach you.
Right. That's supposed to say everything you need.
Right. That's my job.
Yep.
But so anyway, so that, I'll say it like this. That's part of the story. Mm-hmm. As we find a lot of things, that's just part of it. But where I was really brought to, and I'll say this is kind of like a mountaintop experience for me, where I was reading it and I was literally felt like I was somewhere else, and hearing this, he said, "You're my child, and your children carry your last name."
Right.
And your wife, when you get married, takes your last name. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a standard that you live by, and that's my law.
Right.
And if you break that law and you still call yourself a Christian or call yourself by my name as a follower of Christ or a Christian, that's really what taking my name in vain means.
Sure.
And it's a whole different level than don't cuss.
Exactly.
Right. It has everything to do with your relationship with God. And, you liken that to like my children. When they get in trouble, they have taken my name in vain because they are operating outside of the rules that I have established as their father.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so they are taking my name in vain. And, I think when we were talking last, I'm like, if my wife, goes out and on the town and does all of these different things, and people would report back to me and say, "We saw your wife here, or we saw your wife doing this,"
right.
She is rubbing my name in the mud, right? And so that's taking my name in vain. But what God is saying, when you operate outside of the guidelines that I have established, you're destroying our relationship. And if you're destroying my, and in that you're taking my name in vain.
Right.
And it blew my mind because then you look at the rest of them, honor your mother and father. Well, I don't always like to do that, especially when I know they're wrong. And especially now that I'm also a father,
right.
I know
Sure.
I it's easy to point out the sins that my parents had when I was growing up.
Sure.
But honor is not, looking at the sins and calling them out. Honor is loving them anyway.
Right. In spite of it.
Yeah. And then, then the next one, you shall not murder. And again, all of these are matters of the heart. Yes, don't go out and kill people.
Right.
But don't murder them in your heart either.
Because that's exactly what Jesus said in the Sermon on the Mount. He called out adultery. He called out murder. He called out both of those and said, you know what? It's not a matter of the physical act. It's a matter of your heart.
Exactly.
You look at a woman to lust after her. You've committed adultery with her already in your heart.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's perfect.
And then the next one, you shall not commit adultery. Don't steal. I'm looking at all of these and I go, I've done all of these. At the very 100%. least in my heart.
Right.
And you continue to go on. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. Don't keep up with the Joneses. There's no need. And so I'm looking at all these and thinking to myself, I failed miserably, but I know he still loves me. And it shows me, like, even though he's saying, don't do these things because I can't bless you,
right? But
his love still covers this. And it was such an eye-opening or mind-blowing experience for me that, like, wow, I truly will never be able to grasp the depth of his love.
Oh boy.
And, as a dad, I catch glimpses of it. When my kids really mess up and they know that they have wronged, not just the system that we established, but me personally.
Sure.
And I see them approach me with the understanding, like, this guy could really damage my life right now, and I accept them as they are, as opposed to just belittle them, which I could. and it changes the relationship. It's such a growing experience, and like you catch just a glimpse of the depth of God's love in those moments. And
right.
You know,
and then that teaches your kids that too.
100%.
It teaches your kids the love of the Father. You shall not use or repeat. This is the amplified version of that. You shall not use or repeat the name of the Lord your God in vain, that is, lightly or frivolously, in false affirmations or profanely. For the Lord will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain.
Yeah.
Just kind of unpacking that a little bit and going right along with what you were saying about calling yourself a Christian, but then you go off and you show things that aren't godly, that aren't biblical.
Yeah.
You know, and
I wish the church
that works really well with that.
The church now was more like the early church when, you know,
dude.
they were followers of the way, right?
Uh-huh.
They weren't Christians. Other people called them Christians because they knew that they were different. You know, whereas, you know, we'll call ourselves Christians when we look exactly like the world. And that's backwards.
Yeah.
You know, and so, I'm always careful. I won't say that. See, filter works sometimes.
Well, I can add that I was reading on the 30th, I was reading the Proverbs 30, and, you know, I read it to Mike. So it's Proverbs 30, and I started in 7. And 2 things I have required of you, deny me them not before I die. Remove far from me vanity and lies. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with food convenient for me, lest I be full and deny you and say, who is the Lord? Or lest I be poor and let's see. What's that next word, Mike?
Lest I be poor and steal.
Steal, there we go. It looks like stead. And I was like, and take the name of my God in vain. And so I said, you know, that's just really what you were talking about, really, was taking, you know, we don't want to take God's name in vain.
We don't want to bring reproach to his name.
Right. And so if you're doing some of these things, like what he was just saying, if I would steal, or if I would not give you thanks, you know, if I would be so wealthy that I wouldn't remember that you're the source of that wealth, you know, just so many things. And so I said, that really fits with what Sam was going to share on.
Yeah, I do love it how it says, give me neither poverty nor riches.
Right.
You know, right. I don't want to be poor because that looks bad on you, but I don't want to be rich because that may change my perspective as well.
That may make me things look bad on you.
Right.
And I don't want to do that.
Right. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't keep it in perspective, and that love, you turn that financial gain into the love of that money, that would be not a good thing. And that's what people sometimes do. So this was a wise, and he was the richest man there was. So that's interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't give me riches. I got enough.
Right. Yep. The last half of verse 9 in the Amplified, or lest I be poor and steal and so profane the name of my God.
Yeah, that's what King James says too.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine is a bit of a study Bible. So it says, prosperity is more than money. It's a lifestyle that includes spiritual fullness, physical well-being, mental soundness, social friendships, and financial well-being. Prosperity is possessing and stewarding wisely all that God gives to you. Prosperity results from God's grace and our faithfulness to follow biblical principles. A prosperous person is one who is wealthy in all things that eternally matter.
Oof.
That's good.
That could almost be another podcast.
I was just thinking that myself. I'm like, we could develop that.
100%. But yeah, no, this is a good thing, and it's great to think about along that line. Are there things that we do that we maybe we're not intentionally taking his name in vain, but now that we look at it under a little bit more of a microscope, you know, and kind of unpack it a little bit more, what does it mean? Are there things that we do where we do take his name in vain?
It's a good thing to be checking on.
It is.
Yeah. Check your heart. And
it is. And that walking in that holiness too. But in order to do that, to walk in holiness, you got to be constantly checking your heart, saying, you know what, God, is there anything that I'm doing that is not pleasing to you? Is there any attitude that I have that is not pleasing to you? And then be open to that correction.
Well, when, Jesus said, or, when, I don't know if Jesus said it or not, but when he said, don't look at the speck in your brother's eye when you have a log in your own. It's like, you got enough problems of your own, check your own heart constantly.
Right.
That'll leave no time to check on anybody else. Because you gotta always be checking your heart.
Always be doing
and
that.
I'll say, ever since, I was taken to that spot, very seldom does a day go by that I've, haven't thought about that and meditated and, talked to God about,
yes, making sure.
Am I, help me to not take your name in vain.
Right. Exactly.
Use me as a vessel for your glory. That's it. That's all I want.
100%. And that's all what any of us should ever want.
Yeah.
Is to be pleasing to him.
Yeah.
So great advice. We
Great
thank
stuff.
you for sharing with us, Sam, and everybody that's listening. We thank you for sharing.
Amen. And we will see you next time around. And I'm sure we're going to have more from this young man here coming up. As a matter of fact, I'm almost going to guarantee you on the next road. The next road, what road are we on now?
I don't know.
It's on the 267th or something.
Yeah. On the next episode, you're going to see his bright, smiley face again. So thanks for joining us, everybody, and we appreciate it, and we'll see you next time around.